You don't need human design, you need therapy. Today's video is in response and inspired by many comments that I see on my YouTube channel. I'm fortunate to have hundreds of people every day watching videos about human design here and then commenting. And something I see often is this sort of sentiment like, now that I've found out about my chart, that I should just be what this is. And of course you are, your chart represents you. However, many of us have been greatly conditioned through our upbringing to live in a different way that goes against who we are. And so what I wanted to come into and share with you today is just some reality about what it looks like to discover your human design and then embark on a journey of deconditioning, aka healing. When you look at your chart, this is a potential. This is who you can be when you align with the truth of who you are and how your soul comes into this vehicle of your body. You aren't entitled to living in alignment just because you exist. It requires you to align. It requires work most of the time, unless you were raised in an idyllic scenario. Just because your design is X or Y doesn't mean that you won't spend your entire life living in your not self, living something completely untrue to who you are. And this is really the whole point of human design, is to point us in the direction of who we're meant to be versus who we're conditioned to be. However, most people will live the majority of their lives in their conditioning. So when we're looking at our human design and we're starting to learn about it, this is basically a guaranteed path of healing. And you're going to be, if you follow it, you're going to be led down a trail of clues and breadcrumbs on your own healing journey, where you'll, in my opinion, you need support. Because if you could figure this out alone, you probably would have done that. I have received a lot of support in my healing journey since I discovered my human design. One very simple example would be whether you have emotional authority or you have the undefined solar plexus. If you have emotional authority, your chart is telling you that you really need to pay attention to how you feel. However, you've probably been conditioned your entire life not to pay attention to how you feel, and that your emotions were somehow a deficiency and a problem. So the moment you start to really pay attention to how you feel, chances are you're gonna encounter quite a lot of repressed emotion, and the more you feel, the more you're gonna feel, and the more there'll be reserves of unfelt information, unprocessed emotion that comes to the surface, and that can take years to process. That contains all kinds of intelligence about your past that may be very painful for you to face into, that can affect your many life choices. It can affect your family relationships, your personal relationships, your relationship with yourself, where you live, what work you do. So much can be affected by just that one simple note in your chart of pay attention to how you feel in your decisions. If you take that all the way to what it really means, it's a healing journey. You're going to feel pain. You're going to feel things you don't want to feel. It's intense. You will need support. You'll need someone to hold space for you because they have consciousness around feelings that you have not yet developed. So when you haven't learned to really hold space for yourself in a strong way, you need someone else to hold space for you. And that's also healing from childhood, because most of us weren't held space for in a powerful way in childhood. And so we need to give that to ourselves now, because what we've internalized is neglect. So on the other side, if you have an undefined solar plexus, just learning that you have an undefined solar plexus, you may realize that you've been spending your whole life catering to other people's emotions, and that you've been overriding your own signals of truth. And healing that is a journey on its own that could take years to begin to discern yourself and actually honor yourself, even if it's inconvenient to other people. If you're a projector, you won't be recognized unless you're giving the world something authentic to recognize. So just because you're a projector doesn't mean you're going to be successful, you're going to be recognized. If you haven't actually come home to the frequency of your truth and done that healing work to align with the essence of who you really are, you won't be recognized. You won't have that signature of success. You're going to probably end up bitter because you're not living in alignment with your design. So it's not a guarantee just because you're a projector that you're going to masterfully absorb your environment and then be able to see and to recognize others and then to be recognized yourself. Like, it's a potential. It's something that is innate, but you have to choose it. You have to align with it. You have to allow it. You have to embrace it. You have to become it. It's a process, and you will need to heal along the way in order to become that masterfully to the degree where you will be recognized. Similar with manifestors, manifestors are subject to a ton of conditioning. So, you know, if you're an adult manifestor and you've managed to stay sovereign and to stay in alignment with your empowerment and to move through the world, making a clear impact, that's a frigging miracle. You know, most often manifestors will end up being meek or overpowering. The journey to that middle way as a manifestor is a healing journey. The manifestors who I know who are really deconditioned, they've done a lot of healing. They've done a lot of sitting with themselves. So this is an awareness tool. It's a tool that will confront you, and it will absolutely lead you on a path of healing if you take it seriously and you truly desire to align with the potential of your design. For me, it has been 7-8 years of nonstop deepening into the awareness of who I am and witnessing and healing and getting support. I've worked with a lot of different modalities. I do recommend therapy if you have had any kind of childhood neglect, emotional or physical or sexual abuse or trauma. Therapy is really good, and working with a good therapist will walk you through those excruciatingly painful memories and take you to the other side where you can just be in your glory, in the truth of who you are. And if it's not therapy, there's so many other healing modalities that you can work with, and you know, you can trust your own intuition about who to work with and how to get support. So I will put links in the description below of some of my favorite practitioners to work with. I also offer one-on-one sessions and do body-centered transformation and healing combined with my human design intuition and my channeling. So I have a 6-session package you can look at on my website. Again, I'll link that below. On the other side of that is freedom, regardless of the conditions. So it's tremendously liberating, and I definitely recommend it. Thanks for listening and watching. I'd love to hear how this lands for you. And until I see you again soon here on my channel, take care.